Now, the next time you have a spare mobile phone and you decided to give it to a friend, a little piece of advice for you: make sure that friend is still alive, because if he's dead, you will be making a grave mistake if this story in this book is anything to go by. Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now in this video I thought to do a book review, and that book, the book I'm going to talk about is If It Bleeds by Stephen King. Now if you're unfamiliar with this book, I'll just give you a little bit of a background of it. So basically, If It Bleeds contains four well, the more novellas and short stories by Stephen King, and the stories in the book, I'll tell you what they are. So you've got Mr. Harrigan's Phone, which up to now is my favourite story in the book. The Life of Chuck. You've got the If It Bleeds, the titular story. And then the final story is Rat, which I haven't read yet. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the stories what I have read so far. Okay, so as I say, my favourite story in the book is Mr. Harrigan's Phone, which it's got a little bit of a connection to the comedic intro I just done. Yeah. So basically, I mean, I don't want to give too much away of the stories in case you haven't, if you're a fan of Stephen King and you haven't bought this book yet. But basically, Mr. Harrigan's Phone, it's about this guy. He befriends this rich old man and that, in a local community, and he really takes to him that, they become very good friends, and the old guy's called Mr. Harrigan. Now, when Mr. Harrigan dies, what the main protagonist does, the young boy, he has a spare phone, and Mr. Harrigan's, he was really unfamiliar with technology, so he basically he's got a spare phone, he leaves the phone in Mr. Harrigan's pockets and that, and it's there when he gets buried and that, Mr. Harrigan. So what happens is, I don't want to go into too much about the story, but basically the boy starts getting phone calls. Well, he thinks it's from Mr. Harrigan, but of course Mr. Harrigan's dead, and he starts getting these weird sort of when he rings the phone and that, he sort of he experiments and that, he sort of he just has this sort of urge to ring the phone and that, and he gets Mr. Harrigan's voice on the other end and that, I'm sorry I can't come to the phone at the moment and that, and this goes on and that, the boy becomes more and more he becomes more and more sort of obsessed, with this phone and that, and he's wondering if Mr. Harrigan's really dead and that, and he sort of wonders would it be wise to exhume the body, but again, I don't want to give away too much of the story, but it's a real creepy story, guys, Mr. Harrigan's Phone, all about technology and elderly people's difficulties in trying to sort of grasp technology and that, and as I say, it's a very good story, so this is my favourite so far in the book, so there you go, that's Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Now, the next story I'd like to talk about is the titular one, If It Bleeds, which, if you're familiar with King's novel Mr. Mercedes, which I've got here, you will be familiar with a lady called Holly Gibney, who was the assistant to Bill Hodges, the main protagonist in Mr. Mercedes, and there was two more books in that series and that. So King liked the character of Holly that much, he brought her back for If It Bleeds and that. So she's got this new case on her hands. It basically involves this package that's been sent to this school in America, purporting to be from a school in Ireland and that, but really it's a terrorist, it's a parcel, there's a bomb inside and that, and of course it blows up and that, and then Holly sort of gets on the case, but I'll leave it there, I don't want to go on too much about it, so that's the titular story, If It Bleeds, it's good to see Holly Gibney brought back, I say, because King liked the character that much, as he says in the epilogue. he decided to bring her back, you know, for this new case and that. Yeah, well, of course, Bill Hodges has passed away and that, you know. Yeah, the main investigator of the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. Yeah, so there you go. That If It Bleeds. So you've got Holly Gibney back and that, you know. Yeah, and she's got a couple of co-workers and that helping her out and that. Yeah. So there you go. So the third story in the book is it's about Chuck. It's about a guy called Chuck, and it's called The Life of Chuck. Now, this is basically a 3-act life story, and it's actually presented in reverse order, basically like a film running backwards, really. Yeah. So from the father and retiring accountant whose face lights up a billboard as the city lies dying, through the businessman who dances to the drums of a busker in Boston, and back to the young orphan whose grandma warns him not to go into the cupola of the Victorian house. Yeah, I mean, it was an okay story in that, you know. Yeah, not really much horror going on in that, you know. Yeah, it's basically seeing this guy's face on all the billboards and that, you know. Yeah, like, you know, all over America and that, you know. He's retired and that, yeah, and it's basically like his life in reverse, as I've just said, and that, you know. Yeah, so I have to admit, I wasn't too crazy about that one. You know, The Life of Chuck. Yeah. So yes, I wasn't really, as I say, I wasn't too keen on that one. Yeah. So as I say, I've still got the story Rat to read. Yeah. So I'll be starting that tonight. Yeah, Rat. Yeah. But yeah. So if you like Stephen King, like, you know, I mean, like, I have to admit, like, it's not one of my favourite books of his and that, you know. Yeah, because as I say, that story about Chuck, I thought it was very, you know, nothing really much happened in it and that, you know. Yeah. Mr. Harrigan's Phone is my favourite up to now, and I think it's Netflix. I've optioned Mr. Harrigan's Phone for you know, either a movie or a TV series. Yeah, so look out for that, guys, if you're on Netflix. Yeah, Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Yeah. But as I say, yeah, I've got one more to read in it, Rat. So once I've read that, I'll decide then whether and I want to keep the book. Yeah. Admittedly, as much of a big fan of Stephen King I am, some of his stories have been a little bit hit and miss. Yeah. The first collection of his short stories I bought and I love was Night Shift. You know, it was brought out in the 70s and that, and I've got Skeleton Crew, and I've got the others as well, and I had a couple more he done and that, you know. Yeah. So, but as I say, bit of a hit and miss here, guys, but If It Bleeds. Yeah. There's the just show you the back flap. There's the Master of Horror there, Mr. King. Yeah. So all in all, guys, as I say up to now, Mr. Harrigan's Phone is my favourite story. But you might differ in your opinions. Everybody's different, aren't they? You know. But I prefer Stephen King when he writes the real out and out horror. You know, like the Boogeyman, and sometimes they come back. Okay, so there you go, guys. That's my review of Stephen King's book of 4 novellas, If It Bleeds. Yeah. Have you got this book? Leave your comments down below. What's your favourite story in it? Do you like all of them, or is there certain stories what you rate that little bit higher than the others? Yeah. I'd be very interested to hear from you. Yeah. As I love getting Stephen King's books. But as I say, they have been a little bit of a hit and miss, especially in recent years and that. Yeah. So there you go. That's my review of If It Bleeds by Stephen King. Yeah, so hope you liked the video. Please feel free to share, subscribe, comment, and all going well. I'll talk to you all again soon. Stay safe now.